Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at some really cool stuff about gene editing and what it could mean for people with this rare genetic disorder called Alpha-1 Antitrypsin Deficiency, or AATD.
Okay.
And what I think is so amazing about all this is we're not just talking about like theories here. We're actually looking at some real results from clinical trials using a technique called base editing.
Right.
It seems like science fiction is becoming reality with this potential for like a one-time treatment that could correct the germ causing this whole thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a really exciting area of research. And what's particularly interesting is this could really change how we approach not just ATD, but like a whole bunch of genetic disorders.
Totally. Okay, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's break it down a bit. Can you give us a quick overview of what ATD is and why this new treatment is such a big deal?
Yeah, sure. So ATD, it's a genetic condition that affects a protein called alpha-1 antitrypsin, or AAT.
Hmm.
And this protein, it's like a bodyguard for your lungs and liver, protecting them from damage. But with people who have ATD, their bodies don't make enough of the protein that actually works right,
Sure.
which can lead to serious lung and liver diseases.
Mm.
And right now, treatments just focus on managing the symptoms, but not the actual root cause.
Right, yeah. That's where this new potential treatment comes in called BEAM-302.
Yeah, that's right. BEAM-302 is designed to go right for the root cause of AATD, which is that messed up gene. And it uses this really revolutionary gene editing technique called base editing.
Okay.
It's kind of like a find and replace tool for DNA. It's super precise, and it can change a single letter in the genetic code without messing anything else up,
Wow.
which makes it much safer than the traditional gene editing methods we've used before.
That is amazing. It sounds so precise. But how do they actually get that gene editing tool to the right place in the body?
Well, BEAM-302 uses something called lipid nanoparticles,
My
LNP.
teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it delivers the base editing tool straight to the liver cells. So think of them like tiny microscopic delivery trucks, taking the tool right where it needs to go. And the best part is there's no needles involved at all.
So they can target the specific gene causing ATD, safely change it, and all without any super invasive procedures. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And the results from this phase 12 clinical trial are even more encouraging. The trial showed that BEAM-302 actually bumped up the production of functional AT protein in the patients, and at the same time, it decreased the amount of the mutant protein, the one that doesn't work.
So it's actually working. That's huge.
Exactly. In fact, the highest dose of BEAM-302 reached a mean total AT of 12.4 minutes at day 28 of the trial. Now, that number might not mean much to you, but the protective threshold for AT is 11 minutes. So this treatment is actually exceeding expectations in terms of how well it's working.
That's impressive. BEAM-302 is definitely showing a lot of promise. But what about safety?
Well, another really great finding from the trial was its safety profile. There were no reports of serious side effects or dose-limiting toxicities, and anything that did come up was pretty mild and went away on its own.
That's good to hear. So it seems like this treatment is not only effective, but it's also proving to be really safe. This is some seriously groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah, it really is.
So BEAM-302 is looking like it could be a real game changer for ATD patients, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really amazing is this is like the first time we're seeing actual genetic correction for ATD,
Mm.
like in a real clinical setting. It's a huge milestone, not just for ATD, but for gene editing in general.
I can definitely see why you're so excited about all this. It feels like we're seeing a total shift in medicine,
Yeah.
moving away from just dealing with symptoms to actually going after the root cause of genetic diseases. Just imagine all the possibilities.
Exactly. And it goes way beyond just ATD. BEAM-302's success really shows us what base editing can do and opens up the door for treating so many other genetic disorders.
That's what I'm talking about. So where do things go from here with BEAM-302? What's next?
Well, Beam Therapeutics is going full steam ahead with more clinical trials
Yeah.
to really look at how safe and effective BEAM-302 is. They want to try higher doses and include people with liver disease in the trials too.
It seems like they're really dedicated to figuring out just how much this treatment can do. And get this, they just got a ton of money, like $500 million to help with the research and development.
Wow.
That shows how much confidence investors have in this technology.
Absolutely. That much money could let them keep going with research until 2028, giving them plenty of time to do their research and get this treatment out to the people who really need it.
2028, that seems so close and yet so far away, but it's definitely enough time to do good research and hopefully get this to the patients. It's crazy to think about what kind of impact this could have on people's lives.
Yeah.
Imagine a future where just one treatment could fix AATD for good.
That's the dream. right?
Right.
And it's not just limited to AATD either.
Right.
There are thousands of other genetic diseases that come from just one tiny letter being wrong in the DNA code, just like ATD.
Hmm.
Things like cystic fibrosis, sickle cell disease, and even some types of muscular dystrophy could maybe be treated using this same base editing technology.
That is mind-blowing. So this could be the answer to treating all kinds of genetic disorders. It feels like we're about to see a total revolution in medicine.
Yeah, it's a pretty big moment for sure. There's so much potential, and things are looking really good for this technology. We're moving from just managing these conditions to maybe actually curing them.
I'm feeling pretty optimistic about the future after learning all about this, but
Yeah.
I think it's important to remember that with powerful technology like this comes a lot of responsibility.
You're right. Even though base editing has a ton of potential for good, we have to be careful and make sure it's developed and used the right way.
Exactly. We got to make sure this tech is used ethically and responsibly so everyone benefits, not just a select few. It's pretty amazing to think we've gone from just treating symptoms to actually, like, maybe fixing the root cause of these genetic diseases.
Yeah.
Feels like we're watching a whole new chapter of medicine being written right now.
It really is something else, and what makes it even more exciting is the hope it gives to so many people dealing with these conditions. Imagine if one treatment could be a solution for life. That's a pretty incredible thought.
You know what really gets me about all this is the human element. It's not just some scientific breakthrough. It's about helping people and making their lives better.
Yeah, that's where science and humanity really come together.
Yeah.
It's not about messing with genes in a lab. It's about using that knowledge to actually make a difference in people's lives.
This has been a wild ride. We started with just one clinical trial, and now we're talking about a future where genetic disorders might not even be a thing anymore. It's exciting and kind of scary all at the same time.
Yeah, it shows you what we can do as humans and how important research and innovation are.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I have one last question for you and for everyone listening. If this BEAM-302 thing works out and this base editing technology keeps getting better, what other genetic disorders could we target? What other possibilities are out there?
That's a great question, and it makes you think about a future full of hope and all these new possibilities. As we learn more about the human genome, we unlock all this potential for healing and changing things for the better. There's going to be challenges for sure, but the future looks bright.
Well said. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive. We hope this has got you thinking and that you're as amazed as we are by all the progress happening in medicine. Thanks for listening.